Okay, so our first application is a return to 10 Croton Avenue. They had come to our July 6th meeting. Um, he submitted full elevations. He had proposed a new deck with pergola, covered porch, brick patio, new paver patio with planter. The board had questioned the shed roof over the porch, not making sense with the drawings, and had asked to study the roof and return to the meeting. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your name?
Maynard Leon.
Maynard. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you share your screen?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. Just a little recap on what we're working with. First off, my name is Maynard Leon. I'm the architect representing John and Amy Epstein. We're the owners of 210 Croton Avenue. We came before you, as Daisy said, about 4 weeks ago, and are back to show updated materials with some new kind of refinement of the roof lines of the shed roof and existing roof slopes. So just to refresh you, this is a 2-story single-family home built in 1997, right off of Croton Avenue. It's clapboard siding all the way around, and we are, is the view from the street, Croton Ave. We're proposing adding a number of elements to the back that will be relatively screened from the public view of the street. A few more existing conditions images showing the side of the house, especially on the right, see looking to the back. And then the site map, just refreshing you with exactly where the house sits in relation to the neighboring houses. There's one house directly to the south, one a bit further away to the north, nothing across the street, just a steep wooded slope. And then the house to the west is again down another about 70-foot slope. We were approved for a variance to the existing 50-foot setback for both the deck and the raised patio. And just to refresh you, this is what the entire scheme looks like in relation to that setback and the lot line to the rear and side of the house. So this is the revised plan. Not much has actually changed in the plan. We've revised the posts where the shed roof comes down a little bit, and the exact scaling of the barbecue island, which wasn't commented on last time. So in general, we made 2 changes. One was to pull the edge of the rear roof back from the corner of the house, so that when you're looking at it from the street, that corner holds its integrity and the roof looks like a separate element back behind it. The second thing we're doing is actually changing the slope of the roof. So it's not a continuation of the existing 12 to 4.5. Instead, we're going to a 12 to 2 slope for the outdoor portion, kind of capped by a decorative gutter that drains down into the garden. In addition, we're reducing the structure down to 2 posts from, I believe, the 3 we had before, just to kind of clear out the view and remove visual obstructions. Here's a view, a revised view looking down the driveway from the street. You can see the corner of the house is much more clearly articulated at this point, and the rest of the porch roof sits back behind it a little more, kind of fading into the backyard. Here are some views generated kind of from the backyard, showing the existing condition on the left with a version of the proposed roof on the right. I have a couple more of these I'm just going to flip through. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me. So this is a side elevation. I just cropped out of the drawing set, kind of zooming in on that, along with a rendering showing all of the roof lines. And here you can see the 2 to 12 slope. It is shallower, and actually I would say relates a little bit more to the pergola now. And we've kind of re-articulated the detailing around the beams and the posts, so they directly reference the detailing at the pergola. As the view from the other side, looking a little bit more closely, at the relationship between the pergola and the existing roof on the kind of rear breakfast area of that house. We want to basically pull the pergola as close to the house as possible to maximize usable space out there, so we don't have these posts kind of floating around, while giving the house enough room for gutters, drainage, and just general access. Here's a kind of rear elevation view of the revised porch. You can see it's more open, and this is where it sits in relation to the existing roof. It's come in, I think, 2 feet 5 inches from that corner. Here are just a couple detail shots. I mean, these are obviously 3D renderings, so they're not perfect, but they kind of show how those 2 points terminate on either side, and how the roof slope comes down and overlaps the existing roof on this side. We'd eliminate the gutter here and just let water drain directly onto the porch roof on the right side here. Here's a view from the other side of the backyard showing the breakfast patio we were proposing, and the pergola in situ in relationship to the house. And then I have the backyard views of the neighboring properties for reference if you want to go into them.
That's okay with me. You don't have to.
Okay.
I appreciate you showed the existing roof in a lot more accurate detail. It looks completely wacky, but I know that's not your doing. But I'm okay with the changes.
I have a question. That roof, added roof, why does it not continue to the corner? Why is it stops where the downspout is? Because the downspout, I think, is not an existing one. I didn't see it in the pictures.
That downspout is existing. Yeah, we had it coming out to the corner, and one of the comments was that it looked kind of unresolved the way that roof line just continued, especially because it was the same roof slope before. And now that we pulled it in a little bit, we wanted that corner to read from the street. The other reason is that we're changing material there. We're going to have exposed cedar rafters versus the white painted trim fascia piece right there. And we wanted to separate that visually from what you see on the existing side of the house.
Right, but when you look at the west elevation, it kind of looks, just. I mean, especially in the rendering, I thought it looked a little bit. Well, I would say not thought out, because I would prefer it with a lines, either with eave or some, but before you had it all the way to the corner?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Did you ever give thought to something other than the exact same asphalt shingles of the house? I mean, the beautiful cedar wood, and I mean, the whole landscape design, everything is great. And then you've got the exact same roofing material on something so wildly different.
We looked at a standing seam roof, but with the lower slope, we were really worried about the noise during rain. And we're also considering redoing the entire roof at the same time as doing this. So it would match material 1-to-1.
Well, even if it matches, I still think it's weird. I mean, it's just so different. It's such a landscape element. It's not, it's not the house. It still looks like an appendage that's stuck up against the house. And the materials are so beautiful and so different. It just kind of wants to be different. It just, it doesn't really look like a natural extension of the house. That's my only comment. The rest of it, the plan, the materials, the landscape is all very nice. I just think having the same roof material, and again, the way it kinks off, it just looks like you're just forcing it up against the house. But
I mean, would you have a preference for something else, or is this just a comment for exploration?
I mean, would you ever make it, nearly a flat roof with a minimal pitch to the same gutter?
Right now at 2 to 12, I mean, we could go
That's
down.
that's too low for shingles.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, why not stick it under the existing eave? It looks like you've raised the beam, towards the outside higher.
Yeah, we
I mean,
did a
yeah, go ahead.
study where we stuck it under the existing even, and the clearance started to get so low that we had to push it back quite a bit off of the existing position. And that's why we put it back up there, because I know that
Yeah,
was complicated last time.
So that one, that's actually the previous drawing. If you had that flat, that would resolve your problem, and it would somehow relate to the pergola. It just seems very fragmented. Here we have a corner, it turns, we have another roof starting, a different pitch, we're changing the existing pitch, then the new one that you're proposing is again 2 different pitch. One is flat, the other. So it's a small area, and it's like, whoa, there's so much going on. And so when you look at it for the, it just, I'm just trying to think about like what Stanley just suggested, maybe a second underneath and a second flat, so that it has a little bit more harmony, visual. I mean, and I know that I also appreciate that you did the drawings, the working, because that's so much more clear to understand what you're trying to do. So that helps a lot to understand. It's just that it also, underlines this fragmentation of volumes and slopes, and you see, because it's not, you have a small patio. So I like it in general, and I like what you're doing, but I'm just trying to think, how can it be a little bit more harmonious, in relation to the different elements.
Sure.
So that idea what Stanley had, putting it underneath the eave and have it flat, maybe it would be something you could explore or consider.
Yeah, I would agree, actually.
So if we were to not do a shingle roof, something that still drains, I mean, would it just be a membrane applied to the top there?
Yeah.
At that
I
point,
mean,
you wouldn't see it, right?
If it's nearly flat, it's a membrane roof, and you'll only see it from the second floor.
I mean, if you can almost mimic the pergola that you've got, drop it, go under, and then put something over it so that you can sit underneath it and stay dry.
Right, it almost needs
It doesn't relate, it wants to relate to the pergola because you got the same materials, but it doesn't,
We can certainly look at that. One comment is where this view is actually standing, which is really the only place you can see the roof. If you take 2 steps back, you start like going down the hill.
But that's not a reason to do a bad design.
No, sure. I was just pointing that out as one of the.
We understand it's in the back, but it's not a reason not to do the best design you can.
Sure. Okay. So explore a flat version of the roof that sits underneath the current eave.
Yeah, if you do that, I think I'm okay with it. I'm fine with your reasoning for pulling it away from the corner. I think it looks better with two columns also. But I would look at, just making it look like a flat roof. And that way your 2 new additions are flat, and they're not really trying to relate to the wacky back roof.
Got it. Yeah. The back roof as it currently exists is all over the place.
Yeah, I've never seen a roof like that.
Yeah. Neither have I.
So, I mean, I'm fine with that change if you can do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so Daisy, when don't we meet again in 2 weeks?
August 17th.
August 17th, so you'll be automatically in it.
All right.
If you could
Thank
just
you,
send me
everybody.
Everything.
Yep,
by
thank you.
Next week.
Right.
Thanks. Okay, our next application is 150 Whipple Club. I mean, Whipple Road, the Whipple Club.
Yes, good evening, everybody, members of the ARB. Again, for the record, my name is James Ryan with JMC. We're the planners and engineers for Whipple Club. At the last meeting, and I appreciate the board giving us an opportunity on submitting some additional information, and we did receive the rejection on that too. And that actually gave us a little reason for pause in terms of taking a look at this a little differently. We thought we should take a slight step back because I don't think that the information we had been provided by and we're relying on by the vendor, I don't think was really as helpful as it could be to your board. So we took a step back and decided that we would engage the services of a local architect. He's going to speak tonight. That's Mr. Neil Carnow. It also actually, it helped us, and I think Mr. Wong's comment, I think one of the comments is well taken, that it was incomplete information. We needed to take a step back. So on very short notice, Mr. Carnow came on board. We went out to the site, we remeasured everything. We measured everything. And I think what it helped us to do is get a better understanding of the doors, which Mr. Carnow will talk about tonight. You can see that in the picture on the left. Amanda's going to be sharing the screen for Mr. Carnow. And I think it actually was helpful for us as well to really kind of think this whole thing through. And hopefully Mr. Carnow can enlighten you a little bit about why we're doing things. And we've actually changed the drawings in terms of the location of some of the posts, but I'll let Mr. Carnow, if it's okay with the board, kind of walk you through what we did and why we did it. And I think it was as helpful to us and hopefully it's helpful to this board too in making the decision. So Neil.
Thank you, Jim. Members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Neil Carnow. I've had the opportunity now to take a look at this design, the existing building, and the proposed framework of this pergola. And one of the initial issues that came to my mind was that there are some very strong elements to the design of the existing building. And one of them is this frieze board that runs around underneath the overhang at the sitting areas, engages the capitals of the columns, and runs across the three areas of folding door systems that are here. The proposed pergola matches the depth and the location of that frieze board. If we can go.
How tall is that frieze board?
It is just about 12 inches.
On your previous drawings, don't you have some unknown structure that's going to go into that doesn't seem like it's been designed yet? So there's an unknown structure holding up the structure with an X system.
The pergola, as far as I understand it, is self-supporting.
Yeah, how tall is that?
About 13 feet.
13.
Now, how tall is the structure, the vendor's system?
I think we had it on the drawing. It's 12 feet, 11.
No. The actual louver structure, is it 6, 8 inches?
Oh, 8 inches. 8 inches.
So that's going to sit on top of a structure that is done by somebody else, correct?
Yeah, the structure is the steel support structure. That's correct.
Right. And has that a structural engineer actually done that?
Yes, and that's been submitted to Mr. DePaul.
Okay, so what am I seeing on the section, which I appreciate the section, but it looks like you have some tubes going across.
We're going to explain that. Yeah.
We move this over slightly. The tube section is the top structure of the pergola on which the louvers would be built, and that,
So they'll be at the gutter level?
No, they're not going to be above. They're within that structure, within that. paving
They're
structure.
within the vertical dimension of the structure of this, we'll call it the roof of the pergola.
So you're going to have an operable louver smack under the eave.
Correct.
For some portion of 3 feet of it. But we
Why?
gain what I believe is a rational way to engage this pergola design with the existing building by.
My comment last week was to disengage it.
Is this something new to see? Do you want to show us quickly what you have and then we can?
Yeah,
question.
we'd like to explain the whole thing. It's always been the design up against the building underneath that overhang.
Okay, so walk us through what's different and what you want to do now.
Go ahead, Neil.
So what we have done is we've taken a look at how the door systems come out. We've moved 2 of the columns in this system out to the dimension of the doors being open, so that the roof structure cantilevers over underneath the overhang. The end columns are closer to the building and engaged, and we've done that for a couple of reasons. One is that the perimeter bays of this pergola, 11 bays, will have a motorized screen system in them, some portion of which will be a textured fabric, and the remaining portion of it is clear vinyl windows. Those are there for weather protection. And if we move the columns back off of the building on the corner and the end, we would necessarily have to have additional motorized systems, and I believe that it would look complicated and clumsy around the corner to have multiple rolling shades as opposed to a singular shade that was more clean and visually clear. We've moved the columns away from the building. The only part of this that engages close to the building is the extension of those 2 beams.
So is this all the same? The difference is just how you're treating the connection to the building?
Well,
No, it's so what we did is took into consideration the bifold doors. So the interior columns are moved away from the building. Everything, and I think there was one comment, are these centered on those open pieces between the doors? We wanted to make sure that was the case. And then we have the columns now, the interior columns are 3 feet away from that too. And they're aligned with those doors when those doors are fully open. That's why we had the picture on the left show that these doors are bifold doors or trifold doors. And then they open up to that 3 feet plus where those interior columns would be. And those columns don't create that any kind of an obstruction because we have those doors, and those doors are usually open if this space is being used in most cases, not in all cases. Neil?
That's true. So we've left enough room to bypass the column between the column and the building. But the objective here was to try and relate the pergola to the building in a way that it looks like a reasonable outgrowth from it as it relates to some of the important elements on the building. And the main element that this would relate to is that frieze board, and that is in part the reason for doing it.
So on the upper corner of your drawing, you have a steel post smack up against the building.
Amanda, can you go
Correct.
left? Now go to the plan view, the other plan view, and then blow that up, please. That's correct.
Okay, and then it seems like you've changed the whole system from louvers to shades. Is that correct?
No, it's a louver roof system, Mr. Wong.
Okay.
And the shades are these shades that they're in tracks that run between the columns. And it's a 5-inch housing for that too. And then they're motorized, and there's 11 of them. So between each of these columns all the way around, those screens drop down for weather protection.
Okay, so 2 meetings ago, you presented a completely different section of this where the louvers sit on top of the structure.
I don't think that was the case, but
I have it on my screen right in front of me.
okay.
You have I-beams, you're calling them, and then you have the louvers sitting on top of them. So I'm trying to understand.
Is there anything else to show us, or is this all that you have to show us tonight?
This is what we have to show, other than the photographs, and if you have any interest in the screens and the color of the screens, we have that.
Is this system not modular? It's customizable, so you can actually get dimensions to get those lines exactly where you want them to be. So
Yes. Yeah, and including the height, they do test measurements of the height to make sure it fits properly underneath that.
So I don't understand what's changed from the drawing 2 meetings ago to now.
Well, I
It says
think Mr. Wong is
system supported by steel I-beams
correct.
located under the structure
Under
I-beam.
the structure, that's correct.
So you have your 10-inch beams going around the perimeter, and you're going to smack that up against the fascia. And then there's another structure that's under it that you're not showing.
Another structure.
I believe. I don't know. Again,
There's no other structure. This is the structure.
there's no other structure.
can we see the
I'm
section?
not sure what structure you're referring to.
I'm looking at your drawing. I'm not making it up. It's just you're showing.
I'm not suggesting you are.
If you go back,
lost
if you
in what
pull
you
up your other drawing, you show these I-beams under the vendor's structure. And I still want to know what that's doing. I still don't like how it's smacking into the building. I'd rather have it completely separate. I don't like the square post against the building. I think that just looks wrong. I think it's a modern, if you're going to go with a modern structure, it should be separate, clear and separate from the older building, the older style. And those were my written comments to you last week.
Yeah, but that's not something that's going to work for the club. The whole idea is to act. This will function as an indoor-outdoor space in certain cases. So pulling it away creates a 5-foot gap or a 4-foot gap between this structure, which would have to operate separately, and that's not the intent of this pergola system. It's
Well,
to
why
allow
wouldn't all the
outdoor use?
So what if all the columns were pulled 3 feet away, still just kind of engaging the eave, but not all the way to the building?
Okay, so, and we had thought of that, Mr. Wong. So if I moved that other column 3 feet, we'd still want the structure all the way too, so that we can have these screens drop down. The screens are a very important part of this. We're at the top of a hill. We're subject to a lot of wind up in this area too. And so this is a contained system for weather purposes as well as anything else.
Can you point out exactly where those screens are going down? Because I think.
Yes. So you see where the X's are?
Right.
There's 11 different screens. So Amanda, go to a larger picture. So there's 4 on each side, and then facing out, there's 3 more. So there's 11 screens.
So you mean if you were pulled out from the building, you will have the gap, and
And
it's
we would
not going
have
to
we would have
protect.
the gap, and we'd have an impediment too. People coming out of this too, we have an added obstruction, which would not work for us, I think, and it's unnecessary. So even if you pulled it out and you had this extended to that too, say you pull out the to 3 feet, the ones on the top and the bottom, we'd have to have another screen, and that screen runs in a track. So I'd have to attach the track to the building. So what we're doing instead is we're putting that post, which has that tracking on it, so that we have the ability to completely close off 3 sides of this and essentially connect it to the dining area, which it would have that dual function.
Yeah, now I kind of understand what you're trying to do, because that we were not talking about any screens before, only.
I know, and that's what Mr. Carno said in the very beginning. He says, I'm assuming that there's screens on this. And I said, yes, there are. He says, well, that's why we took a fresh look and put him on board on that too. Now, in the interior columns, I thought those were very good comments. We could move those posts back because there are other elements. There's power, there's outlets and so on that area, and it can be helpful for maintenance purposes as well of the building in those locations.
All right.
So, and there's lighting built into all of this as well too.
So the motorized, vertical screen system is going to be below the structure.
Yeah, it's a 5-inch housing for that too. We just we took one. This kind of gives you an idea. The screen doesn't give you an idea of the housing, but it's not this color. But this is one akin to what the manufacturer and the provider has said it would be. How do they describe it, Neil?
They're a white textured fabric, and they have zero vinyl insert windows.
And the tubes are going to be white as well? I mean,
Yes.
the metal, so everything is going to be white?
Everything's going to be white.
Yeah. All right, I don't have a problem with that, so I'm okay.
No, I mean, nobody finds it odd that you're going to have operable louvers opening up to the eave? I mean, I understand you have these vertical screens and understand that you're doing that.
Well, Mr. Wong, what I can do is I can check with, I understand your point about the louvers underneath there because they're not really functional, to find out if there's just, some kind of plating or something they can do in that area. As far as I know, the louvers were extending under there too. But
I mean, the
It's kind of
same,
necessary.
it's not, I mean, the same reason I had problems with your first and second submissions are I honestly still don't understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're showing what, an 8x8 tube steel going around,
mhm,
and then the louver is supposed to fit within that, I
Right.
believe.
yeah.
But I just,
Louver was.
I don't know. I'd rather, I think the point is I'd rather see something, I'd rather see an elegant move if you're going to put this modern structure next to the building or engage it. I just think it's very odd how you're doing it now. I don't think it's very considered. I think it's just, you're basically taking the square structure and putting it against the building.
Yeah.
And you're slamming the louvers up against the bottom of the eave. And I don't think that's a sensitive.
I don't like to think of it as slamming, but we're trying to do something that is nice here. It's obviously a very costly element. It's replacing a tent, which is, has all sorts of issues with that in terms of its look and trying to close that off too with these flaps and so on too. So, we think that this is an elegant approach to this too. Otherwise, the club would not be doing this. It's
I'm going to also speak with the manufacturer, because the last bay that's closest to the building does not obviously have to have operable louvers underneath the soffit, nor directly in front of the soffit. We could put an alternate ceiling, we'll call it, in that location, leave the operable louvers in the bays further away from the building.
right.
I think that's something to consider, because that won't look elegant if you have something that's not justified.
And
I agree with that. I don't know that would be an issue to do that. Certainly something that I don't think the club would have any problem
So
with.
back to my earlier question, there is another structure below this that you're not showing. I'm talking to the architect.
Neil,
I'm not aware of another structure below it.
I'm trying to find it in my paperwork.
Because I think the vendor structure needs a structure below it. If I read your other past two drawings, they're asking for that.
All of the material.
And you're not, and the architect is not showing it. Neil is not showing it. So it's going to be, if I read it correctly, it's going to be below the fascia somehow.
That's not my understanding of the design.
Yeah.
Are there other sections from last week that we should put back up to reference? Stanley, do you have something you
Amanda,
want to share?
can you do that? Can you?
Stanley, do you have something you want to share?
Yeah, I can, I'll go
Well,
to that.
yeah, if Mr. Wong can do that too, because I'd like to see what he's looking at,
Okay,
if you don't mind. Thank you.
yep, hang on.
Stanley, are you pulling up that original?
Yeah, the first one, and then the second one makes them look smaller, but they still have them. They still have it there. Hang on. I've been flipping around, so I don't. All right, let me share. So I'm not sure which one this is, but I think it's the second one. So look, you have these I-beams here, and you have another structure here under the 10-inch box beam, which look like rectangles and not square to me. So I want to know what that is. Are you going to have these I-beams running parallel to the building, or?
Well, they run 90 degrees to the building.
Right. So you're going to have this I-beam presumably running into the
Yeah,
existing
but
building.
I don't have one at the building, at the host site. They're just running across.
Um,
So they're not running on the face of the building, but they're running
right.
90
Perpendicular.
degrees to that structure, yeah.
Right. So you're going to have this I-beam, it could be 12 inches, it could be 10 inches, but
Yeah.
running below the fascia into the building. I just,
No, but it's not below the face, that's not on that side. It's not being put on that side. If you look at the drawing that you just showed, it's showing it on all the internal ones.
hang on.
I'm sorry.
See, and this, I don't, where's the building in this drawing? So to the top of the page?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to see, it usually says host structure. These are the ones supplied by
Right.
the,
So this is the I-beam running, is this north or south this way, let's say?
I think that's, yeah, it's running opposite the other part of the structure.
Right. Well, you,
If you can go the next one up, tells where the host structure is.
okay.
That's the
So you
host
have an
structure.
I-beam here, right? Running into the building.
Double.
Says I-beam right here.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
Neil, did you see that?
Neil. Hopefully we didn't lose Neil.
I see it now.
Well, this is the problem I have with all the submissions. They're not complete, and it just infuriates me.
No, but Mr. Wong, and
No, it's not clear to me. If it's not clear to me, it's not going to be, the contractor's just going to build it and it's going to be what it is. And that's our whole purpose for looking and reviewing these drawings. So you hired Neil, but he didn't do a complete job.
I don't think that's right. I think that's
Well, then, so that I-beam is
so,
there or
so
isn't there?
in those two connection points, and there's two connection points to the structure. So we have to account for the I-beams. And I don't know.
So
if
look at this
it's
drawing I
inside
just
here.
pulled up. It looks like you have a 12-inch I-beam.
Right. So but that's not, that's an interior element too. Whether they box that out, they could be boxing that out. I don't know, but it's only touching the building at
Well, no,
those.
look at this. So where my cursor is Neil drew a, let's call it a 10 by 10 box tube steel. And then here you have a 12-inch I-beam going smack into the building.
Yeah, but it's at the two interior points. We're going to see it, and I'm sure they're going to do something to box those out properly, but it's interior of this structure. It's interior of the structure. So visually, if you're looking at this, it has to be accounted for. I absolutely agree with that. But I don't know how that changes the appearance of this structure. And your board, I understand, it's about the aesthetics, correct? Or
Yes.
is it about the buildability of this? We know we can build this.
No,
We
but
know that we can make it nice.
But if you're not showing, then we can't see what it's gonna look like, and so then it does get into
It's an interior element, though.
But when you say interior of what?
Two-
I mean, I guess
two
you
locations.
just said that it's going to be boxed.
No,
It's a, it's a completely outdoor structure, so it's not interior.
These beams are running up and they're gonna go right to the outside edge of the building in between the doors, right? What's that gonna look like?
That's correct. And in between in those two locations on the interior.
And then going along the building, you know, against it, the long way, is it gonna be up higher above those beams?
Well, it looks like there's another 4-inch
I mean,
beam on the perimeter.
you know, you almost need to draw a circle around that top right corner and what's going on there. Right. I mean, you're buying a kit. You guys have a lot of blind trust and faith that this system is going to be adapted to work in the building, but
We
you
do.
don't. But you don't really know what they're doing. You're going a little bit of blind faith with them.
No, it's not blind faith. This is, you know, $350,000 worth of material. It's gonna be nice, and it's going to work for this club. It's going to be beautiful, and it's going to replace a god awful tent that we've had for the 7 years that I've been a member of this club. We're trying to do all the right things. I'm trying to articulate. We brought Mr. Carnow to be able to look to see if we had any major issues with this too. He pointed out a couple of things that we needed to look at: the bifold doors, and we needed to locate those posts. We're looking at the screens. We're looking at, you know, making sure that we don't have any new obstructions too, any new posts that are hindering travel ways.
I guess I'm still sharing my screen. Neil, what is this 4-inch structure here on the perimeter that you'll see?
Can you read that, Neil?
Looks to me like that's a shim that holds the system up to match the height of the I-beam.
I don't get it. It's 4 inches, it's shown 4 inches on the perimeter, and it's about 12 inches on the interior.
No, but it comes down 4 inches from the top of the I-beam. Right?
Right.
And it lines up at the bottom of the structure that's holding the louver. So there's something at the end of this on the column, which is taller than the columns in the interior that have the I-beams on them. This goes up to 4 inches below the top of the I-beam. So they're putting something in.
Yes, but what is that? What is that something?
Something in there.
What is that? Is that wood? Is it bubble gum? I mean, what is it? And I'm being sarcastic because I'm frustrated at the drawings not being complete. And don't argue with me; they're not complete.
I'm not arguing with you.
All right. So I think you need to get this company to, you know, to detail better how this connects to the building. I mean, for me, I think it's an improvement that now at least things are lining up properly with the building. Instead of being random dimensions, it's being customized to line up properly.
Right.
And so that's a good step in the right direction. And I think we just want to understand, again, the connection to the building, what it is.
So I have ideas in my head how that post could be closer to the building, but not touching the building. I have ideas that maybe you don't have these operable louvers opening and looking up at the eave, which I find, you know, if you ever had to paint that eave, you'd have to be painting between the louvers. I find it a very clunky intersecting of the new with the old, and there is a better way, and there has to be a better way shown. But what you're showing is not complete in any case.
Maybe
And I think it takes an art. So yes, you've gone one step further. You've gone beyond the vendor's structure, which is, you know, what they do left and right, up and down all the time. But now the architect has to look out and come up with an elegant way. If you want that post, that 8x8 column against the building, can it be 8 inches away from the building and infilled with something? Could it, you know, Could it look like it's not engaging the building? I can think of 3 different ways it could. Can you lower the louvers so they're not smack up against the eave? I'd love to see that. My comments were it should be farther away from the building, but just saying that the only answer is to put the column against the building, the 2 corner columns, is not the only answer.
The corner columns do not touch the building. Nothing actually touches the building.
Well, they're drawn that way.
It was, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't. There's notations there for them to be at least an inch away. Nothing that we've shown engages the building. It is completely free of the building and not connected to it in any way. I certainly think that we can and should find out from the manufacturer what we can do in the last day to eliminate the louvers in that section that's directly under the soffit, because you make a reasoned point for repair or access to those areas. Something should be removable so they can get to that area. I have no issues with that. But these columns here and the structure back up in here are not intended to engage the building at all. It's completely free. It's a couple of inches below the socket and at least an inch away from the fence board.
No, but you have this motorized solar shades with clear vinyl that goes from one column to the column next to the building. So it is very close to the building, yes.
Right.
So if we, the perimeter, if you want to have this protection from the, elements at the periphery of the structure, I think that's okay. And the other thing would be to disengage inside from and that whole area under the eave with louver that I guess everybody's agreeing now that should not be there.
We agree.
Excuse me. This is Tom.
So these are the little things. Another thing that all those points that Stanley put, what is that 4-inch? How does it wrap around at the ends? And also the I-beam. I-beam, you say internal of what? When it's boxed, fine, show it. Show us what kind of box, what is it? Because we have all these different information, trying to kind of reconcile them with all these submissions.
That's fine.
Did you want to say something? Tom?
Yes, excuse me. If Stanley can scroll down to the drawing A306.
Well, this is their new submission only has 1 drawing.
I thought you had the old submission.
Yeah, I probably do. So this one.
A306.
A306.
The bottom of right of A306.
304, 305. Okay.
All right. There you see in the bottom right drawing the louver section and the 4-inch gutter. That I think is the question we're asking. What are we seeing in that drawing? The louver section has 1 height and the gutter lays below it to catch the water that drips off the louvers. So that lower section you were referencing, what is that? That is the gutter system.
But I was also pointing out where this set of drawings say there's another structure below this. What I'm seeing here, there's another structure picking up their vendor structure, let's call it. So again, if you keep that in mind, what you just showed me, Tom, and I go
Just stop right there, Stanley.
No, well, here, I'll go here. So there's this
A200, okay.
12, yep, A200, 12-inch I-beam, I think just in the perimeter columns running north-south, I'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another structure that's clearly called out as another structure. And it's not the gutter system. The gutter system.
Yes.
It has 4-inch dimension that it's not shown on the other detail.
And what I'm stating is the louver system has a height, say 8 inches, and it sits within the I-beam, which leaves a 4-inch reveal. And I think that's what we're focusing on, is the reveal that's left from the I-beam that's supporting those interior louvers.
Right, this, between this line and this line,
It's 4
there's
inches.
there's a 4-inch something, it's not the gutter, running around under the vendor structure. The gutter is clearly shown here above the I-beam level.
Mhm.
It's called a 7.5-inch gutter. But then you go over here and they say I-beams by others. I don't think anybody calls them I-beams anymore. They're really W sections, but. So,
So I need
So just,
clarity on that.
just with that additional, what they call, whatever that 4 inches is, we've got 12-inch I-beam, we've got the 10 inches on, so we're at like 20, was that 22 inches plus, plus
I-
whatever
I
this
get
additional,
22. Yeah, on the interior, you mean, on the interior supports?
that says size by the structural engineer. So,
right, so I think what I'm saying is the structure should be shown on, under the vendor structure. And there are other ways to engage the existing building without appearing to be, an inch away from it.
So Stanley, so we don't go in circles. What are you suggesting? You're suggesting they pull away and stop the roof line at the edge of the overhang so that they're not going underneath it?
I mean,
Put some sort of a gasket, a membrane or something to seal that up?
so my first thought is if we look at, hang on. What if this was pulled, let's say, 12 inches away from
Okay,
the building, and
Yeah.
then you put, and again, I don't know if I like this, just some sort of board element from the center of the beam to the building. I don't know if I like it. I'm just saying that way the column is, it's basically, if you do any millwork, it's like doing a reveal.
right.
You're creating a reveal. Right now, you just have a crack between the post and the house. I really wish it wasn't engaging the structure, but then, and then on the same token, if you look at the section, this is very tenuous. I mean, who knows if that eave is even level? If you're going to be within an inch of it, of the bottom of that, I can almost guarantee you the eave is going to touch it.
Yeah, but
There is-
what I'm told that they do, just to make sure the measurement is correct, is that they can cut the support beams so that it's precise. So if it's too close, then they'll cut that down slightly. But they want to make it fit, and it has to fit.
All right, so if I'm looking at this, there's going to be a 12-inch I-beam under this at points. That's going to be down
On the
here.
two interior ones,
That's
correct.
going to be here somewhere. And then there's another 4-inch structure. I believe it goes around the perimeter under the existing, under what you're showing there.
Okay, so we'll show that. We can show that.
Well, ask the guys to ask the company to do it like a shop drawing in this.
Well,
this corner.
It's honestly, and this is not an excuse, but it's been a struggle to get them to provide. One of the reasons why we brought on Neil is because I didn't think that we were articulating things the way that this board wanted to see them. And we're trying, we are trying.
Right, but
it's
yes,
not a
okay,
perfect-
I appreciate that, but I think I'm every time you draw something to be more clear, you're raising more questions. So
Okay, but Stanley, from a design standpoint, just so we don't continue to go in circles forever, do you don't like this underneath the eave, and because it's uptight and this, the shading is in there. So what would your suggestion be?
I mean, drop the whole thing by more than just an inch.
We can do that.
But a designer has to think about it and look at it, not just.
Well, they're buying let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah,
They're buying a
No.
prefabricated
It's not.
kit.
It's not I understand it's a bought system by a vendor, but where it is in relation to the building can be better than this.
Well, we still want to engage the building, but I understand your comment about dropping it, getting more information on that I-beam. I don't know that that's going to make a difference in the look on the exterior of this too, because that doesn't extend on the exterior, but how it engages the building is partially why Mr. Carnow is involved in this. So that was something that we missed.
So, and Neil, you're showing an 8x8 tube going across there, but I think it's really a 2x10 tube.
No, we looked at the shop drawings on the drawings that we had on that.
Doesn't matter at this point. We're gonna have to redo this whole drawing to essentially recreate the set of shop drawings that you were looking at on this set of drawings for you to look at. So we're gonna
Even though it's a prefabricated kit, we still want to understand it as if you're a custom designed product. We want to understand what you're really doing.
Right.
And I think the members of the club do also.
So the issue is, I have to explode those drawings and take all the pieces and show them on the drawing here, so that you can see how their engineered drawings translate to an architectural drawing. I understand that, and I can do that. I just want to be clear about certain aspects. The top of the system that we're showing, I was holding down, it's approximately 2 inches, because it comes down below a piece of trim that's up in the corner of the frieze and the soffit. I felt that 2 inches was sufficient for it, and it was holding it an inch off the frieze board. Personally, I think 2 or 3 inches off the frieze board doesn't make much difference. I can hold it down the 2 inches. I didn't want to take that whole system down below the frieze board and have a little above and a little bit below. The dimension that I was given seemed to fit in there perfectly. I'll put in the other beam. That may change the height issue somewhat. And if it does, then we'll have that reflected on the next drawing team.
I mean, other things in this kind of reveal ideal I'm bringing up. Again, I'm just throwing this out there. It's not my project, but maybe it could be a wood and glass panel that infills that reveal, and it's 2 feet away from the building. I mean, I don't know. I just
Part of the reason for doing that was to not have a number of different columns and materials all happening at the end of the structure. That
right,
if we had a very simple column end to it with a standard sliding window wall that doesn't create either a visual or a physical obstacle. That's in part what we were trying to do while still maintaining weather protection. That was the purpose of all of that. So that's why I felt an inch or two off the building would serve it. Nothing dramatic is going to happen relative to weather in an inch space, but pulling it off of that could then have a more dramatic visual impact, and I was avoiding that.
Okay.
I at least, Mr. Chairman, though, at least we don't want to really move this out beyond the overhang. I think it's a whole lot of different issues for us on that too. So we'll provide the additional information on the gaps on the center beams on that too. I don't know if the board feels that that's going to make that much of a difference. This is 13 feet high. And if you're concerned about the interior look of this too, it's primarily the interior look and how it meets the building. I can see providing a detail on that. I do agree with you on doing something with the louvers, that at least those louvers that are underneath this overhang, we can do that. And my guess is that it's going to be custom, that we're going to have to engage a carpenter or another tradesperson to actually do that, but that's not going to be done by this manufacturer with a detail. And getting a detail out of them is probably not in the cards. It just hasn't happened on anything that I've really asked them for. Other than
all right. So I think you hit a good point. Is that you've got to build something between what structure is giving you and the existing building, and it
Right.
has to be somebody else doing that, because structure is not going to do it for you.
Well,
And
gonna let
I think
Mr.
all my ranting and raving is,
Yeah.
I'm just seeing you put the
Mhm.
structure, the vendor, right? The vendor's the vendor and it's going to go against the building.
Right.
I'd rather, again, and that's what I mean by something more elegant and a more elegant solution.
So it's actually going to be Mr. Carnow is going to tell us what he thinks should look like and what it's going to be. So we can provide that to this board. I just want to have the safe assumption that the pergola is going to be where we show it, but we need additional details on how we're going to treat certain elements, how it engages the building. Am I right?
Okay, are we okay with that, guys?
Yeah, I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I think they're trying to just create the 3-season porch essentially.
Yeah.
And now it lines up with the doors, and yeah, but yeah, if you can do something underneath that overhang with the louvers,
We certainly can. I mean, there's lots of opportunity there. So I'll lean on Mr. Carnow to come up with something and present that to the club in the next few days.
All right, and when you come back to us, you should know us by now, make
Yes.
sure the drawings are clear and we
Yeah.
understand that you don't have to talk us through it, we can see.
Right. But we're trying. We are really trying. So.
All right, we are too.
Okay. We appreciate that.
All right, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next application is 84 Campfire Road, Pamela and Paul Fishman. I believe Nicholas is here with them.
Yes, hi. Hello, board. Hi, Paul. Hi, Pamela.
Nice to see you.
Okay,
All
are
right.
you going to share your screen?
Is it all right if I share? Yeah, is it all right if I share? Give me one
Yes.
second. So as a quick little recap, here's 84 Campfire Road. The existing images of the house, the front, and I'll go counterclockwise around it really quick. The rear, and then this is the rear affected area, and then the front affected area in the drawings I'll show you in a minute here. The neighboring properties, and here we are. So taking into consideration, I think Tom or somebody on the board said instead of having it just die into one of the faces here, we had it extend over and then line up pretty much where that end wall is. So in the elevations here, it'll be a little clear. So as you can see here is that new roof continuing all the way through, and then in the rear, this is how it'll look. It'll pretty much match the front in its entirety. And on the right elevation, this is how it'll continue over and just finish flush with the rearward yard wall.
It's much better.
I believe me, I took notes, guys. I made sure. I'm trying my best for y'all. And then this is pretty much the sections cutting through it here, showing how the trusses will act and attach to the existing. And lastly, I believe it's just the electrical, which I think you guys have already seen. Not much is being done, just adding a couple sconces on the wall and outlets. But that is her.
All right,
Okay.
comments on the board?
Much better. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Claudia?
good to go. Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for working with it. I think you have a much better solution than you started with.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I appreciate your guys' feedback, and I kept it short and sweet like you guys needed because it is getting late.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck. All right, thanks.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, our next application is Bill Spade, and he is going to be presenting for 16 Mountain Peak Road.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Hey, Bill.
So I'll share my screen. So here's the aerial 16 Mountain Peak is this property right here. The house was built in 1979, two-story colonial, sits at very tight to the property lines where the side of the house actually faces the street, but the front of the house faces this beautiful downhill slope and view. And our addition we're proposing is a little infill on the rear of the house. And but before I go into that, let me just show you, here's photos of the front of the house looking down the hill. Our work is on the back. So no changes to the front. This is the rear right side. Our changes are over here on the rear left side. And then this is a particular focus on the area that we're going to change. Just describe it really quick. We're going to take off. We're making interior changes to the kitchen in here and opening it up actually to the family room over here, if you can see my cursor. So we're going to fill in this little tiny outdoor space and extend the wall over. Therefore, we're going to remove this existing gable roof and extend it over to cover that space, and then infill roofing above to create the proper drainage. The other thing we're doing is changing this little side porch roof. Right now, it doesn't cover the steps, and the owner wanted to be able to extend it out to where the existing roof on the side is. So that's a little piece that we're changing as well. Here is the floor plan. Sorry. My fingers aren't as depth. Oh, sorry. Do it this way. So the exterior space we're enclosing is this little rectangle here. It's about 6 feet, a little under 7 feet long by 4.5 feet wide. And the goal is removing a bathroom that's here and opening up from the kitchen into the family room and creating this as a sort of a larger breakfast area. See, we're relocating the powder room into the existing hallway so that we can circulate through the family room and still get to the other spaces. I'll go to the elevation. Oh, you know what? This is an older plan. So my apologies. Let me pull up. I think this is a plan that we submitted, but we made a change to the roof. And so my apologies. If you give me a second. I thought I had pulled up the right one. I think we came up with a better solution. Do you see, and I'm going to go right to that rear elevation. Yes, here. So we played around with the roof over that porch. We'd previously shown a little sloped roof reconnecting to the new gable over the kitchen, and thought that looked a little odd. So decided to do a hip roof over that porch so it didn't conflict with the gable over the breakfast area. There is a little oddity to the centeredness of it. You can probably pick that out. In the plan, the center of the existing breakfast nook is here. And so we've got the gable peak there. We have a slightly steeper roof going to the left side, a shallower pitch roof going to the right, and trying to still, what we're doing is having a cathedral ceiling above this. So we want these transom windows to show up above the triple slider. And so maintaining that center of the ceiling over those transom windows was critical, and obviously then following that angle so that from the interior at least it looks like everything's symmetrical. But there's
about that window to the right, it's like further out. It's not. You want to pull that in?
This window I'm circling here.
No, the other one.
This is an existing window. So this is a mudroom space. I'll go back to the plan. That's an existing mudroom space that's remaining, and that's an existing window that was remaining. So we have a new window we're doing in that breakfast area that we're pulling off the wall to account for a cabinet that's going in this up against the wall. So here, I'll go back to that elevation.
So it looks like it wants to be symmetrical, but it's not.
Yeah, just, this is that existing mudroom. There's a wall right here at the edge of this door. And so those dimensions really can't change because we weren't changing that mudroom. So from the edge of the door over to here is what we're
What about the new
enclosing.
window to the left? Can that slide over so it doesn't
A
look?
little bit, but again, they were putting cabinet in this blanks, inside in this blank space. So as much as I'd like to be centered in this, then that would eliminate the ability to do this cabinet shelving that they want to do against the wall.
Do you have a roof plan? I can read.
No, I don't have the roof plan here. We dashed here. Let me go back to the floor plan. We dashed in. Come here. We dashed in the roof on here because it's the roof structure is directly above this floor. Here is the peak of the gable, the new gable, and then a hip that continues all the way down over that porch, and then another hip going off to the side here. These pieces, triangular pieces, are the cricket roofs that you see on the elevations. This gable dies into this main roof that's extending up to this ridge over the garage. I can go back to the elevation and I'll show from here. Here's the main roof of the garage that remains with that ridge there. This is our new gable that we're constructing over the kitchen and breakfast area. This is this cricket roof beyond up against these side walls of the existing second floor. This is that hip roof over the porch. Again, I'll go to this elevation. So these are the infill cricket roofs that we're doing up against the wall. That's those are the pieces. By the way, there's a new awning. There's an existing awning, retractable awning on the face of the house, and they'll purchase a new one and install it in that same space on this decorative band.
Can you go back, please, to the floor plan so that we, again, just to look at those windows, like Robert said, to make them a little bit more symmetrical on the axis of the gable. So either, because it kind of looks so accidental that one is just glued to one side and the other is centered. And I know, and you explained so well, but I'm just trying to understand a little bit if there's anything that can be done so that either because so on the right here, that new space, there is going to be a closet, you said, or shelving?
Yeah, there's a full height, 2-foot deep set of cabinetry that's going here. That's pantry cabinet that they're installing.
You have a floor plan that takes out the dashed lines, the demo, it's cleaner, that we can, just a construction plan?
No, so unfortunately, this is the representing the new construction, just dashing in what's being removed. So I don't have another version that's cleaner than this.
How does a gable roof work above? Like what is the actual gable roofed area in the breakfast area?
Do you want me to go to
the cathedral ceiling starts there, but then how far back does it go? Just that part?
Over to here. It's going to be symmetrical on either side of that gable. So then there'll be a vertical wall here that'll drop down to a flat ceiling.
Okay. But they're going to be at different pitches.
On the inside, we're going to frame the
Make it out a little bit
at the same pitch as the other side. So as a fur down that ceiling so that the two pitches match.
So I missed this the first time. Why did you? The first one actually had a symmetrical roof pitch on either side.
when you say the first one, the one I had up. that we
Well,
had-
yeah. I mean, it's dated 7/1, I think.
All right, here, let me, I thought I still had that here. I don't see that.
I think you gotta either get more symmetrical or you gotta get less symmetrical, but
Right.
it seems a little awkward.
Well, the one from 7/1 has a symmetrical roof, and it goes down a little further to the right because it's farther away, but it somehow just looks more natural.
Oh, here, so,
And then you have that swoopy roof that you want to get rid of. I guess what I'm saying is, can you do a combination of the two?
let me catch up with you first and see if this is so this is that, I think this is the 7/1
Yeah.
you're referring to?
Yeah, so zoom into that lower elevation and you have a symmetrical gable over the breakfast room. But
Yeah,
as it continues, it goes lower.
right.
Is there a reason you just don't, this looks less odd to me than the one you just showed.
Okay.
But then you wanted to get rid of that swoopy roof,
Right,
then maybe put that hip
combine
back.
them.
Yeah,
Keep this, yeah, part of this involved then cutting into, the plate height right now is up here.
right.
So this roof involved then cutting into the plate height, so trying to simplify that detail if we could, but I don't have an objection if we resolve it with that. Here, I'll bounce back to the.
Yeah, bounce back and forth so we can see it, because I just think it looks, that looks odd to me that the roof is slightly off pitch.
Yeah, so it was either keep the same pitch and drop this down,
Right,
or do different pitches and.
right.
pull
Now
this
bounce
up.
back to the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll expand it a little bit so they're kind of the same.
So I just think this looks better.
Yeah,
And do you think,
Those side windows not bother anybody else on?
I mean, maybe you could consider to do this if you absolutely have to have it one because of that closet. Can we make the existing one a double window? So
You're
that
saying-
it actually, so that it actually somehow
Yeah,
relates to the new window. I mean, so there we
oh yeah,
have
they have
space
I'll just say they have existing cabinets on these walls on either
on
side of
both
this window.
sides. I
Yeah. That's kind of just boxed in there. I mean, we can move this window over, maybe we can see what we can squeeze in terms of that cabinet and try to move this window over a little more. I just don't feel like we're not going to be able to get it, centered in this
Right.
wall panel, because it'll just eliminate the ability to do anything upper.
So by doing,
I appreciate the window, the effort. I see other elevations I like to poke some windows into, but we're not touching those.
right.
So thank you. So Stanley, we can bring this roof line back down, make them the same pitch. Are you okay with that hip roof?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You think that looks better? So here, maybe I can even, I can draw a quick line, I believe.
I mean, does that kill your headroom under the door?
I don't think so, no, because the door head is here.
Okay.
So part of it was these roofs right now end at this elevation. But I know we can drop those down some more. So I was going to try to draw this line.
Well, rather than redraw it, why doesn't the left gable get to a 5.5? No, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, then that would push the ridge. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would push the ridge over.
But then if you're going to fake the ceiling anyway,
yeah,
you'd be faking both sides so it looks symmetrical, I think.
yeah, I'm not sure because from this ridge to this line is shorter then ridge to this line.
Yeah.
So, I would say if you're okay with it, we'll go back to this other plan of dropping this down so that they're both 6 and 12 pitches and just resolve this roof a little lower as
I
that
think-
hip roof.
I mean, I think that looks, to me, that looks better.
Okay.
Anyone else want to comment?
Yeah, I agree. I think it does.
What if the window to the left was one bay wide, it was half as wide, and it was, it's just, to me, it just still looks so forced, the whole.
You're saying this window up against the sliders.
Right.
No, I'm saying if the window that's new, what if that was instead of, where you got the muttons in it, two panes wide, what if it was a thinner window? And then it would be, in a sense, centered between, and you'd just be pulled back from the door. Just like,
Yeah.
it's like you're trying so hard to get a kit that's symmetrical and put in here, but it's just not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Or would you
looks
feel
odd.
better if we could move it over to the left some more?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you can move it over to the left, they just,
Okay.
Or if it needs to stay that, it just needs to become a side light versus trying to even do a window there, I think. Because there were side lights in the old thing, or in the original, or the original house.
Oh, I see the
Side
photo.
lights.
Let's see. Well, here, go back here. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Here, I have to be here.
Photographs. Or...
Yeah, I'm thinking I didn't pull up the that submission file again with the photos in it. I went right to the set of drawings. I thought I had that get to the right here. I think I got the photos somewhere else too. Here they are. Yeah, they had, you're exactly right. They had narrow side lights on this existing slider.
Yeah, maybe if you put two side lights and then you had just a single pin window on the right, kind of like that. That would
Just replicating this.
Yeah, same idea. That's a symmetrical facade, but it's not a symmetrical fenestration, but it works.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
So would you want us to come back and show you that final picture?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. That's fine, because we're just gonna, I know Tom's probably just gonna get started on reviewing the plan, so we can submit that update.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
And
you.
by the way, I'm the one application where you say, well, let's call a spade a spade.
A Bill spade.
Objection. All right.
Oh, that's
All right.
a good one. I'll have to remember that.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wait,
1 second, sorry.
Wait, what?
Oh,
We have revisions to the drawings. We're hoping we can show you right now so we can avoid waiting 2 weeks if you're willing to stick around.
sure.
We are. Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
All right. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So on the left, you can see the previous proposed, and then
Mhm.
on the right,
Yeah.
all of the structure is flat and just the buildup has a pitch. So kind of
Great.
from this view, they'll be aligned. It's sitting about 3.5 inches below the existing eave line. That's what it looks like from the street. So you
Yep.
get flat. And then this is the roof line from the side.
And what are you thinking of putting on the roof, making the roof out of?
Doesn't matter.
A waterproof membrane, I have not pulled this back yet.
I like it.
I think it's a lot better, yeah.
A lot better. I'm good with it.
Looks nicer. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's as forced. It seems to talk to the two pieces talk to one another a little bit better.
Wow, you were pretty busy in that.
Yeah, that was quick. I'm impressed.
Nice.
Trying to get this submitted before I go home,
Yeah. Okay, I'm good with it.
Yeah,
Alright.
I think it's good.
Thank
You're, you're approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
everyone.
time. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
everybody.
it.
Okay.
Bernard, if you could just email me exactly what you just sent so I can print on Friday and add it to the file, give it to Tom.
Yep, I'll do that right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
a
Thank you
good
all.
night,
Have a good
guys.
night.
Bye. No, this is Sunday. All right,
Okay,
we'll see you on the 17th.
Good.
okay.
Okay.
Good night, all.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.